Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, don't you enjoy this beautiful environment? Do you realize that you're sitting in the middle of where history was made? Everybody talking about curiosity. Do you know what that is there? And anybody who doesn't know, please go and read it and understand it, because this is where this nation came together, created a union, and started. And there's the flag out there. This is about history, ladies and gentlemen. And the idea of today is to combine art and creativity with our business. And what a beautiful place to do it. So thank you very much for the organizers to have done that. So one of the things I'm going to be talking about today is abundance. How many people in this room believe that we are living in a state of abundance as opposed to scarcity? How many people? A few. What about the others? Do you feel the world is really getting stuck and doesn't have enough abundance? Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in the best time ever. Literacy rate is going through the sky. Mortality rate is very, very high. Child mortality rate is extremely low. Education is good. The cost of electricity has gone down. The cost of solar energy has gone down. Look around the world and every single thing is better than 100 years ago. Every single metric. And it's the way we see that, and that is the part of what we're going to talk about today in this creativity challenge and how we can embrace everybody who's out there. My professor, Marshall Goldsmith, he was the #1 CEO coach in the world. He wrote this book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And that's very critical, ladies and gentlemen, because your science degree, your accounting degree got you to this point, but it doesn't take you into the future. And that is something we need to be able to look at that. And the world is going really, really fast. But while this world is going fast, and you look at this beautiful image, what do you see? You see harmony? You see a beautiful coral reef? And my question to you today is, as we go forward with the wonderful stories that Jeff has shared with us, in this thing, for us to succeed, what is one of the most important emotions or attributes that we need to build or have? Anybody any ideas? What do we need in the future to succeed? The word is trust. We can have fintech, but if we don't have trust, it doesn't work. We can have all sorts of new products, but if we don't have trust, it doesn't work. Libra, the cryptocurrency created by Facebook, is a very high quality, well-designed, strategically designed product. But it is very unlikely to succeed because we do not trust Facebook with our money. Would you? And that's really the question. So we need to find ways to build trust. But while we're building that, we need to look at creativity and imagination, and that's the essence of what we are going to be discussing today. So I thought, in the spirit of the future, today is the 25th of February, 2020. Let's take you to 2030 and see what the world is going to be looking like at that point in time, and how are we engaging with that. A little bit of Star Trek thrown in there just for impact, but that's only 10 years away. It is in our lifetime. So are we building our businesses, are we building our future with those kinds of attributes in mind? Because 10 years ago, were we building our businesses with the possibilities of Uber, Airbnb, and the various other points that you discussed? Now, a lot of new technologies are coming, but what is also happening is there's a lot of intersection going on between all of those new technologies. And Jeff alluded to that we find through serendipity, through really just looking by chance, we find a lot of things. Now, how many people know what Gutenberg is? Who Gutenberg is? Everybody knows that? Gutenberg, in 1451, invented the printing press, and it changed everything. Literally everything. It changed education, it changed religion, it changed commerce, it changed shipping, it changed banking. One. Today, we have about 20 Gutenberg moments happening simultaneously. And not only are they happening simultaneously, but they are cross-fertilizing with each other. And at each crossover point, there are masses and masses of new opportunities, because that is where creative vibration happens, when two industries come together and two sciences come together. And this is how a lot of creativity and opportunity is unleashed. These are my two rock stars. So Ken Robinson and Tony Buzan, who was my mentor. We worked together on a lot of social charitable work all over the world. He's the inventor of mind mapping, and which is a core of how creativity is actually developed. And I learned a lot of my lessons, which I'll share with you today, through Tony Buzan and through Sir Ken Robinson's work. So, we spoke about, let's just look at creativity as a bridge. Imagination is just opening up our minds to possibilities. Creativity is applied imagination, and innovation is converting it into a product, which Jeff so brilliantly mentioned in his opening keynote. Now, let's look at imagination. Imagination is things that you know, and then things that you can visualize. Can everybody visualize an elephant? Yes? So this is known information in our imagination. Now, let me take you to the next level. Can you all visualize an elephant wearing a pink dress? Right? Like my tie, wearing a pink dress. We can all visualize it. This is unknown information, but our mind can actually extrapolate with that unknown information. And that is how we can actually start thinking of things that we don't know and go into areas that are completely fresh to us, and then we can identify that. And there are various techniques which we can talk about as we go through the day. Google has a 70-20-10 rule. 70% of their time they do their job, 20% of the time they extend their job, but 10% of the time they daydream. That's their daydreaming time. How many people in this room daydream? The people who have not raised their hands need to daydream, because that is the human brain's methodology to shut down the nonsense and the craps that are coming in our head to release the ideas and creativity. Please daydream. So when your kids are bored, they're daydreaming. They're not wasting their time. They're being curious. They're asking different questions. And that is one of the things we need to work on. And that is where most of Google's innovation and new ideas came from, in the 20% time and in the 10% time. So, how many people recognize this picture? Who is this? Who drew this picture? Any ideas? Da Vinci. He is probably the smartest, most intelligent man that ever lived. And he has 7 rules of creativity. The first rule is actually curiosity. Second is diversity of thinking. Third, he talks about the balance of body and mind. And that is that you need to be physically fit to have the oxygen working, because great polymaths, and like him, geniuses like him, he was also an athlete. But not only was a scientist, he was a botanist. He drew maps. He understood physiology. So what we need to do is to actually look beyond our specific areas of interest, just exactly like Jeff also said. So there are 7 rules, and we can talk about it as the hackathon comes on board. Now, the brain, ladies and gentlemen, has become our final frontier. Really, everything else is really happening, and creativity and intelligence and the augmentation of our brain and our mind, the amount of AI augmentation that is happening in the world today is incredible. How we can actually work with holograms and bring those holograms in AI form to us, and our mentors are Nelson Mandela or Gandhi or Einstein or Leonardo da Vinci in hologram form using AI. This is the way we are doing our new form of augmentation. So we're basically in this world, we can actually start growing our thinking and our intelligence. Huge business. Trillions and trillions of dollars worth of new business in terms of AI augmentation of our brain. So when we talk about our creativity challenge and our linking all those things, if we can start linking it through technology also, we can further accelerate. We can further develop our positioning. This is probably one of the most important charts for today. Creativity on one axis and optimization on the other. We understand this area very well, where no compassion is needed and optimization. All of the things in that area will be automated, AI will take over, and all the jobs there are going to be lost. However, anything that requires human warmth and connection is going to be 100 times more valuable. You know that on a scale of 1 to 10, AI is at about 1 or 2. We are about 9 or 10. Why the hell do we always get excited about AI all the time? We are above there. And what we have, because a lot of the left side of our brain is going to go to all of these technologies that we have. But the right side of our brain is what we need to develop. Number one, heart, courage, emotion, love, intuition. Jeff spoke about gut feeling. Gut feeling is actually intuition. Intuition is super knowledge. Intuition is having everything, and all of these elements keep coming to you. That's intuition. Intuition actually is more powerful, and we need to find a way to channelize that. So this is our challenge in the world today in terms of creativity versus optimization, and in terms of where compassion is needed and where it's not. Can you recognize yourself in any of those quadrants? Because if you're in that one, you need to start retraining and redeveloping yourself. So today's topic is about creativity. How many people think that creativity goes down as you grow older? It goes down? This was a study done by NASA about 30 years ago, and it was quite a fun story. So here's a little 3-4-year-old child, cute little girl. How high do you think her creativity is? High, medium, or low? High or very high? Very high. Okay, then what did we do as she got to about 4 or 5 years of age? We sent her to school. What happened to her creativity? Boom. Then we got ourselves really excited and saved all our money and sent her to the best college. And what happened to the creativity there? Went down further. And us, ladies and gentlemen, we are at a handsome and very interesting 10% of what we were born with. So we were born geniuses in terms of creativity, and we positioned ourselves and dumbed ourselves down over the last 20 years of our life, 25 years of our life. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the challenge. Why is this thing happening? Schooling is one, habit is another, fear of failure is a third. I always talk about failure as learning experiences. I was doing a class at Harvard Business School, and they asked me, how long should a CV be? And they said 1 page, and I said 2 pages. And I said, no, folks, it should be a little bit more than that. And they said, why 2 pages? So I said, this is your success CV. All of you guys are brilliant. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is your failure CV. What did you screw up at? What did you learn? What did you experiment? How curious were you? How much did you try? Because we want to hire people in the future who have courage. We want to hire people who are resilient, resourceful, and able to be humble when they're looking out there, so they can fail fast and move forward from there. So basically, these are the kinds of things that we need to be thinking as we're going into the future. So while we're being creative, the first one is verbal linguistic. That is our what we get at university. We just, everybody has done SAT, it'll be your language and your mathematical skills, right? But these are our multiple intelligences. We need to expand our intelligence into spatial intelligence, into personal intelligence, kinesthetic intelligence, all of these. Professor Gardner at Harvard Cognitive Studies, he has written this book, and Professor Buzan has also worked a lot on this. We need to be working on all our multiple intelligences, not 1 or 2 of them, because this is what's going to engage us in the future. So, with all of this, where are we going? What kind of new degrees are we looking at? Science and everything is fine. I look at astronomers and musicians and I work very closely with the conductor of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, Rob Capello. And Rob and I do a program, and it's called The Power of Listening. As leaders, we need to start listening. And this actually drives our future. How many anthropologists are there in this room? Anybody? One. That's what you normally get. In about 100, about one person raises their hand. About 3 people are psychologists. How many social scientists in this room? We are human animals. We need to understand human behavior, culture, and stuff like that. And we don't do this. Airbnb has 250 to 300 anthropologists, social scientists, and data scientists in their group. I was doing this presentation at a core group in Paris, about 300 of their top people. And I asked the same question: how many anthropologists did they have? 0. Psychologists, 0. Data scientists, 0. Social scientists, 0. Why do you think Airbnb is killing them? They understand behavior, they understand response. When they get data, data is the fuel that drives AI and computers, and the algorithms take it even much, much further and gets quantum wave forward. We need to take these degrees, these qualifications, and this is how we move forward. Are you with me, guys? This is how we are looking at the world as we go forward. These are just some initial ideas, stories from Jeff, all the wonderful new innovations and creativity and the philosophy of creativity which he articulated so beautifully. And this is just to put another layer for all our startups that are here for today, for this challenge. If you look at that cylinder, look at perspective. When you look at it from that angle, it's a circle. When you look at it from that angle, it's a square. Both think that they are right, but the actual real truth is that it's a cylinder. So sometimes you need to step back and say that if we change the way we look at things that we are doing, the things we look at change. And we need, this is perception, this is the ability to step back and do something. Passion was mentioned earlier, failure I've spoken about extensively, and now we can get into our global challenge. The global challenge is, how do you see the government of the future working? And if you started on a clean sheet of paper today, what are the type of things that you would love to find? How do you envision a country with no sector or demographic barriers? UAE, Dubai, is a small country with great reach. Who would have thought 20 years ago that this would be the busiest airport, the biggest airport in the world? 0. So there are no boundaries in their heads. There are no boundaries in terms of geography or size or population. It's our imagination which goes out there. And the third part of the challenge is, what does a creative society of the future look like? Jeff gave quite a few ideas in terms of exactly how this can be done, a formula. And as we go on through this afternoon, Jeff will kindly be available to all of us for some mentoring and some questions to understand the key process and how they will come together. And how will emerging technologies contribute to fostering creativity? This is the reason why we are here today as far as the challenge is concerned. Lot to read there, but the idea is to create a new mindset in terms of what we're doing. Everybody has these papers on their desk in a little booklet that we will work on. But the more important thing is, if you look at the Global Innovation Index, one of the key things that the UAE government in Dubai is looking at this moment in time, and MOF is leading this initiative, is to look at the creative output. Are we good at intangible assets? Are we, all of these wonderful people there, have they got IP? Have they got patents and copyrights and methodologies that they're creating, that they're registering? This is a huge new area that we can work with. Creative goods and services. This we do reasonably well. Could we do them better? Could we do that in a way that really, really touches people? And the last area, here we rated very high. We're number 13 in the world. But it's still very important that we take this online creativity and take it into the top 10 also. So this is the Global Innovation Index. The challenge is to work on these areas, and whatever you are building, any kind of product, service, concept, idea, anything that you have, taking this whole thing and converting it into something that can be implemented. We are going to have all of these elements that you can utilize in terms of the ecosystem. You can look at any ecosystem. So there are really no boundaries. You can think exactly the way you want to and then build from there. So some thinking tips as you go forward into lunch. One of them is what Albert Einstein did. If he was asked a question, if you had an hour to solve a problem, and it's a life-changing problem, it's really, really difficult, how would you focus on it and how would you allocate your time? And you know what his answer was? I'd spend the first 55 minutes asking questions and 5 minutes to find solutions. We are so focused on solutions that we're not even asking the right questions. So the art of questioning is one of the most important new skills you need to develop. And this is how we need to be moving forward. When we look at our challenge today, ask yourself all of these questions. Say, what kind of moonshot do we need? How does it help arts and culture? And how does it sort of tie in with schools and the government also? So as we move forward, we're looking at the fourth industrial revolution, and the industrial revolution is moving in waves. We are in the second wave of the fourth industrial revolution. We're going into the third. So as you anticipate the future, look at a lot of things on that side, because these are the ones that are going to start taking over more and more. And my final slide, ladies and gentlemen, as you go out and do this challenge, you will get a prize. You will have an opportunity tomorrow morning, this whole of this afternoon, to build it. We will support you. We will work with you. All of us will help to take this thing forward. And tomorrow morning, the winners will be announced. And then with a senior government group that's going to come together on a creative workshop, which is going to define policy, which is going to think through a white paper, which is going to work towards actually giving all of these ideas that you are coming up with on a single quest. You will give them an ability to find something tangible. So we come out with something from this. And therefore, these are my bit of advice. Be bold, be foolish, and be mad. Thank you very much indeed.